morning. It is good to be back. To be a Christian is to hear the good news of what God has done for us and does for us. To hear gospels such as this, in which he is walking through the city and the two blind men come after him and they ask him for their sight and they receive it. To be a Christian is to hear about miracles that the Lord has done, the wonders of God's power in our midst. We hear about these things. We hear about them so often that we begin to forget, to mistake, to miss the magnitude of what is done. We begin to think, oh, people get their sight back every day. And of course, it doesn't help our understanding that modern medicine indeed accomplishes such miracles, it seems, all the time. I remember when I was a boy hearing about people who might be working and their arms are cut off by a falling piece of sheet metal, and thinking, that's that. There's no way to reattach that. And yet, we hear in the last 30 years, we hear of such wonders being accomplished. Miracles don't catch our ears in the wondrous way that they once might have. Yes? But is this truly why we begin to take the scriptural stories of the Lord's action for granted? Is this indeed why they do not touch our hearts as perhaps they once did? I would suggest that there is another reason. The Lord comes to bring healing. The Lord comes to bring peace. The Lord comes to call us to repentance and to everlasting life. But none of these are what we seek in our daily life. Our society is consumed, people will tell us, with material things. I think this is true. Most of us spend our time looking for the next thing we can buy. But I think to focus on materialism is to miss the point. Not just our society, but human civilization in general is focused on something more essential than just owning things. We are fixated on control. Yes? We want to be masters of our own destiny. We desire to be safe and secure. We wish to not have anybody else tell us what to do, especially if we're under 20 years old. But the difference between those who are under 20 and those who are only 20 is that those who are over 20 can sustain the illusion that no one tells us what to do a little bit better than those who are younger, maybe. We don't want healing unless it means we are free to do what we want. We have more control, more safety, more ownership of our lives. And therefore, because what we seek is control, we find that we are unable to receive the gift of God. If you look at those who are able to receive the miracles in the New Testament, as the Lord is going around and preaching, it is never the wealthy person, the leader, the king. The person with power never receives the gift of God because they don't think they need it. The people that come to the Lord are the ones who are destitute, who have nothing, like these two blind men, who cannot see, who cannot earn a living for themselves other than by begging by the side of the road. They know what they want, and they know what they need. It may be that our lives are more complicated than this, but in my own life, and when I hear confessions, when I counsel people, it is clear to me that it is between these two choices that we all struggle. What we seek is greater control of our own lives. And the more control we get, the more we clench and clamp down and squeeze our lives. The less room there is for grace, for love, for peace, for joy. The more we try to grasp what we have, the more we destroy it. Those who come to the Lord and receive the gift are able to receive because they have already lost everything. Their mind has changed. They no longer desire to own property, to have the good life. They would just like to see the sun and the face of the one whose words speak love. So they come to the Lord and they ask for a little bit, and they receive God Himself. This is the change I would urge on all of you. Lay aside or recognize that we all struggle to possess our lives. I would pray that God gives us all eyes to see the destruction that we do when we try to possess, to own what we think is ours. I would pray that we may learn to ask for the small things, to pray for mercy, for grace, and for love. These things are enough. And then we may, if God granted so, learn to go through our lives with our hands open and our hearts overflowing with the love of God, instead of our hands and hearts closed, seeking to protect ourselves and what we have built and what we possess. It is hard to see, but this is our life. Our hand may be open, or it may be closed. God grant that we open our lives and seek His grace alone. Please stand.